Yo, 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 what is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show here. Today, I was trying to get an early start, but man, you know, these hot Minnesota winters just took a toll on my on the bands on my bandsaw, the little rubber bands that go around the deal here. So let me see if I can show you here. See, now they're like really psychedelic orange now. They used to be black. Anyway, they fell apart. I had to change them out. So that took a little bit of time. No big deal. Just set me back a few hours. Had to do that. And while I was at it, I cleaned out my dust collector. So, all right. So enough about that nonsense. Here we go. I got the bandsaw fixed, working. Everything is cool. So, hey, I'm rocking my Monkey Pants shirt. So if you guys are ever way down in Arizona, I got a buddy down there that owns this bar called Monkey Pants. Make sure you check it out. All right, so here's what's going to happen today. I got this really cool maple here. Way to go, Mud. Figure it out. Walnut. It's walnut. And I'm going to cut this out now. I got the shape of the body traced on there. I moved it around. Got a couple little tiny knots up here, but I worked it out so they're actually going to go away with the cavities. Anyway, so I'm going to cut this thing out real quick, and then we will move on to routing. So the Archie blows. Anyway, I tried to cut this really close because I think this little area right here in this off fall will give me enough to do a book matched head cap, and that will have come directly out of this same piece. I think I might have mentioned it before, but I try to use as few pieces of wood as possible in these things. You know, I like to really keep it simple, really keep it limited to just a few different pieces of wood. This one will actually have 4 different pieces in it. It'll have the body, the cap, the fingerboard, and the neck. I'm going to go ahead and reset up, and I'm going to route out the body, and we'll talk a little bit about that when I get there. You know, a lot of these techniques that I'm showing you and talking about are really, you know, simplified. And the reason I do it like that is because I want you to be able to do it. You know, and if you can go out and get a few basic machines, buy wood that's semi-prepped, you know, you can do this stuff in a fairly small area. But you just want to take your time. You want to think through it, make sure you know what's going on. And you can always, you know, hit me up, and I can try to help you out with whatever I can. So, all right, I got me a razor blade. I got me some double-sided tape. I got me a template, right, chump. So I am going to put this template on here, and I'm going to route the body out close to the shape that it needs to be. Now, 2 things. I haven't quite taken it to the correct depth. I am going to make it the right shape, with the exception of right around the neck joint. Because I haven't got the neck in there yet, I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room. So I'll probably just route kind of right to the center of these, of the horns here. I'll just route into there a little bit. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it incrementally. I'm going to do these little routes, okay? And a lot of cats, you know, you got this big table router with the big bit in there, and you can just push it through and do the whole thing. You can do that. That's cool. If you're, you know, if you got the kahunas to do it, that's cool. For me, I like to be a little safer, take little bites out of there, not so hard on the old router, and usually comes out pretty clean.
The glare of hours has
There she is. I got my little sticky pad down there. I've got this set. This is my plunge router here, and I've got it set just so the bearing is just above the base. Okay, so that means my first cut here is probably going to be, oh, maybe 3/8 of an inch. So once again, I have routed, and this is something I talked about a long time ago, and I'm not sure if you guys saw that video because it wasn't kind of the great guitar build off set, but I did this whole thing on all the stuff you need to know about building a guitar. And one of the things I talked about in there is called climb cutting or conventional cutting. And so what that means is that if your router bit is spinning into the piece, if you're cutting and the router is actually spinning into the piece, that's actually called conventional cutting. If your router is spinning and you're kind of going away from the cut, so you've cut the stuff behind you, that's called climb cutting. And it is, it's just kind of a safer way to cut. Any of the grain run out will be gone, so a lot less likelihood that you're going to chip out. So what you might have noticed there is I cut all the way around. When you're climb cutting, it can tend to kind of walk off a little bit. So I cut all the way around, got most of the stuff off, and then I just did one final clean cut conventional cutting. And that's what I was doing, just so you know. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset my plunge here. I'm going to come down. This stuff is cutting relatively easy, so pretty happy about that. And I'm just going to set it down a little further. I'm going to make sure that I am cool there. Get these back on and these back on, and we'll do it again. Okay, and if you noticed, I'm still staying away from that neck pocket area. And I'm going to go down a little bit further here. Now at some point in these routers, this plunge base won't let you do it because it's set up a certain way. You have to be careful with some of the other routers. What will happen is the collet itself will protrude from the router base. So you have to be real careful not to let that happen because that'll just burn your template there. So this is the final stage I'm going to be able to do with this. But the beauty of it is now I've got the body itself has become its own template. Now that I've got that top edge all smooth there, I'll do this one last route and then I'll go ahead and just pull the template off of there and I'll be able to get down that much further, another 1/2 inch or so out of this. So let's do this one more time. And I was sliding past the wishing well, you're in the long game. Alrighty, so you can see I've gotten about halfway through this thing, and so I'll be able to pull this template off and get another 1/2 inch down, and then I can swap my router bit over and come from the back. Now I've left this thing thick, and the reason I have done that is because I really need to figure out what that top is going to end up like. That top is going to get carved. It's going to have some contours in it, and I just want to make sure I have plenty of material in here prior. So as soon as I figure out my final depth, start doing my cavity routes and everything, then I'll go ahead and thin this piece of ash out. So you might have noticed on that one I was kind of spinning the guitar around, because when you're conventional cutting, when you're actually doing kind of a normal style cut, you're pushing, the router's kind of pushing back at you and you're pushing through, so you're only in one controlled movement. When you're climb cutting, the router acts like a wheel, the bit actually acts like a wheel and is trying to move itself along. So if you're climb cutting and you're standing behind it and you're pushing away from yourself, the router it wants to jump, so you want to move forward, but you're trying to hold it back. It can get a little jumpy like that. But if you just stand in front of the router and let it come towards you, then all you're doing is kind of holding the router back. You're letting it just kind of walk along. At least that's what I find works for me. So I try to, that was a much bigger cut, even though it was a 3 fluted bit, that was a much bigger cut, and it was really kind of pushing. So I just spun the guitar around so it was always coming towards me. So that's kind of the deal. I wish you could smell the swamp ash. It's not a great smell, but it kind of is, you know. So there is our body, and then here is our top. And once I get the final dimensions of what this top is going to turn out to, I'll actually take material off of the body to kind of lower it down. So I got those F-holes laid out, and what I want to do is I want to put some cavities underneath of them. I don't want the pots or anything visible through the F-holes, so I'm just going to use this little template I made to route the F-holes down a little ways, and then I'll probably black those in. I'll do something cool inside of there. And then when the top goes on and you look through the F-holes, you'll just see a cavity and not really any of the pots or wires or anything. This is a Forstner bit. They're nice for just cleaning out material. I'll use them when I'm cutting pickup cavities or control cavities, or in this situation, an F-hole cavity. And in the end, die alone. So I've got some lines on here. When it's all said and done, this thing's gonna be real similar to like a Les Paul thickness. I think it's gonna be a little lighter, but I got about 1/8 of an inch off of here. When I'm done, the whole body with the edge with the cap on it is going to be about 1 3/4 inches. I put a center line on this, and then I also put uncompensated string length line perpendicular to that on the guitar. All right, so again, you're never gonna see this. All you're gonna see is inside of there. It's gonna have that nice walnut cap on there. So this is the beginning. So now what I gotta do is I gotta lay out my, my pots. They're gonna go down in this area down in here, and my output jack. And I'm gonna lay all those things out on this and then see what other routes I can do prior to gluing the top on. Everything I do now before the top goes on is gonna make it easier on me later. What's up? Cool. Hey, by the way, thanks for hanging out at Mud's Music and Mystery. I know it's very scary, but I appreciate you hanging out. All right, so check it out. Here's what's going on. Here's where my 2 pots are gonna go. My 2 pots secure. And here is where my chicken head's gonna go, right here. Okay, now I routed these F-hole cavities about 1/2 inch deep. So what I want to do is I'm going to drill these 3 holes till I'm about 5/8 deep, maybe even a little more than that. So when I go to the back of this and actually route out my control cavity, I will know that I'm not going to get, these will show up in my route before these guys do. I mean, I can measure and all that stuff too, which I will do, but this is really just a good quick reference. When I get down there, I'm like, okay, I can't go any deeper in that area. Right. Okay, so you can see I've got my 3 holes in there, and I didn't hit my F-hole cavity, and that was my goal, to not make contact with this guy here. So we'll have master volume, master tone, we will have our chicken head here, and I'll explain what that's going to be when we get to wiring this thing up. And then here is my Strat style output jack cover there. So I'm going to go ahead and set my router back up, and we're going to route this down exactly the same way, just what I did with these. Go down about 5/8, a little bit more, and then I'll be cool with all of this stuff. All right, I am back in black. So I did one thing between when I drilled the other holes, is I actually came in and I drilled a relief hole for my output jack cavity here. So okay, so check it out. So I've got all my reference holes in there, and I call them reference holes because there's a good chance I'm gonna actually hollow some more stuff out. But I want you to see this and understand why I, drilled these holes deeper than this. So I know when I'm routing from back here from my cavity, I'm gonna find those things before I get to the back of this and all that kind of fun stuff. So that was really the point of this whole deal here. It feels pretty good. I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit more. I've actually got another template so I can take just a little meat out of there. I'm not sure exactly what it weighs right now, but I will check it out here shortly. I went ahead and made my pickup cavity template here, filed it all nice, made sure my edges were flat, something that looks decent on the back of the guitar. It's the back of the guitar, but you still want it to look like you care. So pretty much the same thing. I'm going to get in there, I'm going to route down until I get to the bottom of these drill marks, and then I'm going to keep going just until I find those holes that I drilled on the other side, and I'll show you that when I get there. Okay, so check it out. Here's my the point holes from the brad point, from the Forstner bit, are coming through. So I'm really, really thin here, probably down to less than 1/16 of an inch. Alrighty, there you have it. There is the beginnings. So now I have to figure out what else I want to take out of this body. I'm going to bust out my scale and weigh it and see what's going on, what's happening. It's mud, and I am going to carve the top on this thing, at least get it really close. I'm going to rough it in right now, and then I'll have to go to the sander. I'm actually going to use this big gnarly grinder right here. And if you notice, I've got one of these 4.5-inch wheels with the rounded edge on there, and that's what's going to get me really close carving this top. Rocking my Fender shirt, not that they need me to pump them up, but I got some friends that work up at corporate, and Ryan and Jeff, and know a bunch of people up there. A lot of the RV graduates have passed through or are still there. I know they got kind of hit by COVID, but anyway, still, I like those cats. Alrighty, so what I've done is, I think I showed you the body when I did all the cavities and everything in here. Still not sure if I'm going to do any more. I possibly will because of the weight. But for right now, what I've done is I have double side tape the top to the body. I made sure my center line and my bridge line are all lined up. I got to keep this really precise, and the reason being is because of those F-holes where they're going to end up in this body. I need to make sure I know exactly where those are, so I've kept this kind of my crosshairs lined up the whole time. I've drawn a line around the outside. What I did is I sanded the edge of my top here, and I've drawn a line up just about 1/8 of an inch all the way around the top here. And that's where I'm going to take my outside edge to. Everything's going to taper off to 1/8 of an inch. This isn't going to be a huge carved top, but it's definitely going to have some shape to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around with my grinder, and I'm going to get really close to that 1/8 inch, pretty much all the way around. Hey, what's going on? Hey, let me show you what's been going on since we last visited. What I've done is I've gone through and I redid the layout on top of this. After I shaped the top, I need to go back and graduate from the back so I can make it thin enough. I also went in and I drilled the 3/8 holes for the 2 pots and the multi-switch, the rotary switch here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my thickness. So by doing this, I can find out, as I'm drilling in, I can physically see how much length I've got left. Plus, I'll be able to test the pot, actually put it in there, and make sure I have enough threads coming out of the top to catch. The other thing I had to do, because of the way the holes are in the guitar, I had to offset the centers of these, okay? So if you look, the centers are offset because of the little tabs will be off to one side. And then same thing with the rotary switch. I still have a bit of the body there, so I moved the rotary switch up. And that's okay because that's what I wanted to see from the top anyway. So I kind of figured all that stuff in. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to deepen, I'm going to actually drill. I clamped it onto the body and I traced exactly where everything was on here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to drill these down until my pots fit. Hey, so I want to show you guys something. So what this is this is a finger jig right here. And this just sticks out. And I mainly use this when I'm working on arch tops because of the concavity of the tops in certain spots. You can't just do it on a flat because if you've got that concaved area sitting on a flat, this will drill a lot deeper than you want it to. So what I've done is I've got that finger jig there, and then I've got the drill bit just above it. And if you see, it's just stopping about maybe just over 1/8 of an inch. I've got my stop set right here, so it can't go any lower. See, that thing bottoms out there, and I've got that nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the F-hole area, I actually trace my template onto the back of the guitar, and I'm going to thin that out, and that will give me an idea how thick it is. I'll probably get in there and route it out a little bit, and then I'll be able to cut the F-holes through a fairly thin piece of wood. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll set my router, I'll put this template back on here, and as I route and I get down to that point of the tip of that drill bit, I'm going to stop. So probably what will happen in these areas, I'll route it very thin first, because that'll get me down to those areas there, and then maybe I'll deepen it up a little bit and do just this backside where I get closer to the thicker part of the top. So the first thing I want to check is the depth of the shallowest part. Now right here on this end, if I go down, I am set at about 18-30 seconds on this outside edge. And that is probably going to be the shallowest spot. So on 0, I'm going to push this down. I'm going to go right in the tip of one of those things there. And 624, so right at really 5/8 is pretty much where I am. So I am going to set just a hair shallow of that right there. Okay, wish me luck. Not sure how well you can see this, but what's going on here is I went pretty shallow here, a little deeper along this edge, and then a little deeper along that back edge. Now you can still see some of the points from the drill bit, but I got most of them, so I don't want to go chasing out just these last couple that are in here. Same thing on this side here. I've got this one area here which is a little thicker, but this is easy enough for me to get in there with a little chisel and kind of smooth this out. As you can see, this top is getting pretty complex. There's a lot of stuff going on with it and the body itself, but once they're together, you're not going to know any of that stuff is going on in there. But you know, that's cool, man. That's what makes it kind of a groovy guitar. Cool, man. So there it is. This is all I'm going to probably get done today. I'm going to start working on the neck maybe later this evening, first thing in the morning. All right, groovy baby. Y'all be cool. Take care of yourself. Love you all. Thanks again, Ben. I'm coming to England next year and I'm going to look you up. That's it, man. Take it easy, you guys.